This is Joe again with another review. For saying this video, I know I haven't done a movie review for a while, so I'm going to do a movie review now. And some time ago, when I first started doing these videos and these movie reviews, I did a whole review of the whole Karate Kid movie series. And, I got some views on that. I got about 65 views on it last time I checked. And since this whole now in 2018, excuse me, in 2018 there's an whole reboot here on YouTube Red called Cobra Kai, which takes place, of course, obviously 3-4 years later. So I decided to redo my Karate Kid movie series reviews, but instead of doing them all at once, or discuss all the movies at once, I'm going to do them one at a time. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to be discussing, Karate Kids 1 through 3, and maybe possibly touch on the next Karate Kid film, and maybe, just maybe, if I ever get around to it, see all the episodes for Cobra Kai. I already seen the first 2 episodes, so I can't really. I know there was 10 of them out there, but I figured touch on the two episodes I have seen. So maybe eventually get to it. Well, now the first. I know it's a long overdue introduction here, but I'm going to be discussing the very first Karate Kid movie, which came out way back in 1984. And I guess for people from my generation, it was about 13 when it came, or around 13 when it came out. So it still resides in my generation. Of course, the Karate Kid stars Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, William Zabka, Warren Cove as Sensei Kreese. Of course, also Chad McQueen played also one of the other boys, who was Steve McQueen's son, played the guy Dutch. The guy does jumping up and down, goes along with everything that was going on with the bullies and everything else. And also Randy Heller. And I should also mention Elizabeth Shue as the love interest in the film. Of course, this movie, there's very few movies at that time, even though there was not karate movies. Like all the Bruce Lee films from the the 60s and the 70s, and of course those were the 80s. You also had Chuck Norris. You had Steven Seagal was starring with his run with his movies. So you had a lot of karate films. There were all these karate masters and jiu-jitsu and all that type of thing. So this is just one on the line. And what very funny is that I never saw the original movie in the theaters, just on cable TV and video, which I'll get to at the time in this video to do it, to mention it. Of course, this movie, is about Ralph Macchio, who plays the main character, Daniel LaRusso, whose mother, of course, his father dies, we didn't find out in the second movie, actually, decides to move 3,000 miles away from New Jersey to LA. And the day before school would start, Daniel gets invited to go to a beach party, and he meets Elizabeth Shue's character, and she was like smoking hot. She was hot. I think this might have been her first movie, or at least early in her career, and they get instant attraction to each other. Of course, what Daniel didn't know was that she just recently broke up with her boyfriend, who was Johnny Lawrence, the leader of this band of high-class karate students called the Cobra Kai. They're all in the same karate dojo, and found out that she recently broke up with him, and he's the best karate student in the whole area. And of course, Johnny saw them flirting with each other. I said, "Oh, hey, how dare you hear my girlfriend?" And even though that she's decided, hey, he's not my boyfriend anymore, but he still considers her girlfriend. And Johnny beats the crap out of Daniel right there on the beach, beats the crap out of him. And of course, every day or every other day, Johnny beats up Daniel for some reason, even looking at him cross-eyed. Even the first day in school, they had soccer tryouts, and one of the guys, Bobby, who of course Later on, the film turns, which I explained later in the film, gets trips up Daniel, and he gets kicked off the soccer team. And of course, all this stuff is, a little bit of bullying, all that bullying that's going on. And of course, Daniel decides to learn karate, and he happens to go by, meets his mother for lunch, and across the street was a karate studio, a karate dojo, and he finds out that that's the school where his bully, Johnny was learning karate and stuff. So he says, "Oh, this is crap," and he even says, "Oh, it sucks. The karate studio sucks." And then he gets pushed down a cliff as he's riding his bike by the 5 bullies. There was 5 of them, five of these guys. So he says to his mother, "Look, you gotta know karate." And because finding those, they always say this and everything else, or finding doesn't solve anything. I said, "Well," I said, "Near those palm trees, Mom." Referring to, of course, moving all the way out to California. So, meanwhile, the guy who heard this conversation was Pat Morita, who plays the janitor or the handyman in Daniel's apartment building. And the apartment building is still there today. For those who want to go look for it in California. And because there's several videos on YouTube on the people who look for movie locations for certain movies. And they're playing them with a Karate Kid. And they go to the apartment building where he's at. And of course he decided, and of course this one particular day, it was at a Halloween dance, Daniel decides to pour water, collect the hose to the sink and pour it over Johnny's head just to get even. And Johnny and his 5 guys and his 4 friends, like Dutch, Bobby, I forget who the other 2 guys are. Names are. I mean, you don't really hear their names in this movie. They'll chase him down, and they start beating the shit out of him. And then Pat Morita jumps over the fence and kicks some ass and some balls too, because he kicked Johnny in the balls at one point, literally. I am not kidding. And saves his ass. And then Daniel says to him, "Hey, have you ever taught anyone karate? Well, you never told me you knew how to do karate." It's actually pronounced karate. And he says, "Oh, I never teach anyone, especially if you want to use it for revenge. Because karate is for defense only." As Miyagi says in the throughout the course of the 3 films, karate is for defense only. And then he says, gives Daniel the idea, go down to the studio, karate dojo, and talk out to the teacher. Students are not bad. Teachers say students do. So they're following what the teacher is teaching them. And then the teacher is no good, because he's teaching the wrong way how to teach karate to these kids. He said, "Oh, great, let's go down to the school and talk it out with the teacher." And then Daniel decides to convince Miyagi to go with him and say, "Hey, you're already involved, you kick this guy's butt, and you help me out. You saved my life, right? And you don't want to go down and help me sell this thing. Because I need backup, And he says, "Forget it." And he says, and then of course Daniel says, "What kind of belt you have?" Because that's your karate goes with black belt, brown belt, and stuff. And he says, "Oh, canvas. You like JCPenney, $3.98. I always remember that line." And he goes, and he says, "Karate here." He says, "Karate here. Karate never here." For his belt. And that's what it is. It's here and here, not your belt. The color belt you have. So they do. Long story short, they do go to the school, and they decide to hand it out and train out this thing in a tournament. There's like this big karate tournament Because the Old Valley tournaments and we settle the differences there. Instead of fighting out on the street or fighting on the dojo and stuff. And because John Kreese, playing with Warren Cove, says, hey, this is a karate dojo, not an ninja class. You don't come out to my dojo and drop a challenge and leave, old man. And if you do that, you're going to have a world of problems. And he says, okay, and Miyagi says, no, it's too much advantage, your dojo. He says, okay, name the place. I said, set out of the tournament. And he says, well, and then of course, you leave him alone so he can learn how to train, so he can properly train him. He says, alright, I like that idea. He says, so okay, no, don't beat him up. Don't touch the guy until, you have to in the tournament. He said, okay, and the whole class agrees. And then, of course, most of the rest of the movie, until of course the tournament comes, it has to do with Miyagi training Daniel in karate. And he does really unorthodox stuff, like how the wax wax on, things wax on, wax off. And of course, there's the karate moves. You keep practicing doing it this way, and of course, that's where you have my hand always, block the karate. Like a karate punch or a karate kick, you block it with your hands, or do sand the floor with a big circle so you block kicks, or paint the fence, you can block this way, and of course eventually you have to practice the blocks before Miyagi teaches him how to punch, and of course he does that, and also practices how to kick. Before you practice how to kick somebody or how to punch somebody, you have to know how to block those kicks or punches. So that's why he had Miyagi had Daniel to do all those tricks. And of course he had a little bit of a backstory of Miyagi when there's one day when Miyagi gets drunk on the drunk scene, and Daniel finds out that that particular day was the anniversary of his wife, or the 40th anniversary of his wife and son dying from complications to childbirth. So his son dies and his wife dies. And of course it's heartbreaking. And then he finds out that Miyagi also served in the military during World War II. He won a Medal of Honor. And then of course now he wants to train, do better, for him. Because he's like a son to him now at this point. And of course, before that scene, he trains him to go to the beach and learn how to balance by being in the surf and letting the surf hit him. And he's got to learn balance. And then, of course, Daniel looks over and sees the most iconic, what I feel is the most iconic moment in the film, when you see Pat Morita on a stump practicing, of course, the famous crane kick. And, of course, Daniel says, so, what are we doing over there, on those stumps over there? It's called the crane technique. Does it work? He says, if it's done right, no difference. No difference if it's done right. And he says, can't you think I could do that? He says, well, first learn stand, then learn fly. Major Wu died, your son, not mine. He says, and then of course his father told him how to do that. And then of course he also had that moment where Miyagi smashes the balls with a couple of drunks, giving them crack, watching them do some karate training on the beach, and Miyagi has to remove the balls, and the drunks won't do it. He goes, hey, yeah, and he smashes the heads of all the beer balls. And Dan says to him, how did you do that? He says, don't know, first time. And all those types of jokes. Because that type of humor that Pat Morita was always a comedian, and what I should mention at this point was that originally the producers of the show did not want Pat Morita to play this part because he's known for comedy, and particularly being in the Happy Days television show when he played Arnold. The guy who owned the drive-in, Arnold's drive-in in Happy Days. So he's known for that particular. Other than Arnold and Happy Days, this is the only other role, unfortunately, that Pat Morita has been known for. And somebody said, "Oh, he looked good in the screen test." That's high. And a lot of people said, particularly at Columbia, which produced the films, the Karate Kid films, didn't want Pat Morita in there because of his comedy history and comedy background. But he does have a lot of funny lines of funny bits in there, just to keep up the humor angle of his acting career. So then eventually, of course, you do get eventually into the tournament, but there were some points where they did kind of rush it a little bit. What I mean by that is, of course, there was a moment in the locker room where, of course, one last shot for the five guys to bully Daniel, where Dutch, Johnny never said a word, but he walked in behind everybody else, and he says, "Come on, boy," and Dutch says, "Oh, why is Mommy not here to dress you? Come on, punk, make a move." And he shows him, and of course Daniel is ready to defend himself. He says, "Come on," and of course Dutch is trying to egg him on to attack him first, and he wouldn't do it. He'll cry for defense only, but and Dutch says, "Points or no points, you're dead meat." Right? So of course, when they finally do get to the actual matches, you do see the full match. The very first match that Daniel was involved in, you do see the first match. And then, of course, you see the whole big montage of the song "You're the Best." Originally, that song "You're the Best" was supposed to be in Rocky 3, which wasn't used, but they put that, because they went for "Eye of the Tiger" in Rocky 3. So they used that song "You're the Best," and they put that in the Karate Kid movie, and of course that became a big hit from that film. That song became a huge hit at the time, and they used a whole big. And of course, at the end of that montage was the match between Dutch and Daniel, which I wish. And that's the one big criticism of that movie, is that you want to see the whole big match between Dutch and Daniel. I think it might have been better if they had like the same, instead of Daniel versus Bobby in the semi-final match, would have been Daniel and Dutch, instead. But that didn't happen, and it was like the quarterfinal match between Dutch and Daniel, and then you had the semi-final match with Bobby and Daniel. Of course, Bobby was the one who eventually turns around and says, "Hey, it's enough with beating up Daniel all the time," especially the big fight, the skeleton fight, where the Cobra Kai students were dressed up in skeletons, with skeleton costumes. And Bobby says, "Look, leave him alone, man. It's had enough." And Johnny says, "I ain't the same way he's had enough, man. What's wrong with you, Johnny?" And he goes, "That means deserves no mercy." But and what just is, "That's right, no mercy, right?" And because Bobby says to him, "Look, Dutch, you can't even stand up." He said, "Yeah, that don't mean squat," And that was about the time when, of course, Miyagi stops everybody and beats up everybody. But Bobby figures, "Hey," and Nelson was trying to sell us, "Hey, Nelson, you beat up this guy enough. We know we can't. We can easily beat him up, but it's enough. Enough of this crap." And of course, when Bobby has the match with Daniel, Kreese says to him, I want you to take him out." You know what I mean? Instead of defeating him, he wants to injure him. And Bobby says, "Look, I could easily defeat this guy. I could beat this guy." And Kreese says to him, "I don't want him beaten. He said, but I want to be disqualified." He said, "Well, I'm out of commission." Wants him. That he wanted Bobby to put Daniel out of, or Kreese wanted Bobby to put Daniel out of commission. So of course he had that scene. Within a few seconds it goes, "Fight." When the referee goes, "Fight." And a little bit of trivia: the guy who's the referee, and talking about the little stocky guy with the mustache, he was actually the karate trainer for all the actors in the movie. He taught them all the moves. So he's the karate expert that brought in and he taught all the students how to do the karate moves, all the actors. So Bobby hit Daniel in the knee, and of course he got disqualified, and of course Russo won the match for disqualification. And of course the doctors checked him out and says, "Look, you're not going to be able to fight." I tell the judges that you have to forfeit because you can't. You're in no condition to fight. So of course Daniel says, "Look," and of course he told him all about early in the film. Pat Morita, Miyagi says to him, "Look, balance is for your whole life, not just for karate, but for your whole life." So he had a scene where in the locker room after when Daniel was injured, Daniel says, "Look, and can you fix my leg with that thing?" Because it was early in the scene early in the film, when doing the karate moves, when Miyagi actually showed her those were karate moves he was teaching him when he would paint this fence and sand the decks and the wax on, wax off thing. He says, I can't move my arm because my arm's so sore. So Miyagi did all of this and then put his shoulder back in place. So Daniel asked Miyagi to do that for his leg, if he could do that. And he says, no, and Miyagi's trying to talk him out. He said, "Look, you don't need to fight anymore. You prove your point." It's at what point? They got beat? That was beaten? And he said, Mr. Miyagi, you're not going to have balance that way. Not with them, not with Ali, and not with me. So of course Miyagi, agrees to do it because he has a point. He's saying, "Look, you're talking about balance. I'm never going to have balance in my life. Because every time I'm going to see those guys, they know I know they got the best of me, and we'll never have balance that way." So he fixed his leg, and of course he had the famous fight scene between the two of them, and between Johnny and Daniel. Of course, you kind of knew there was going to be between a fight with Johnny and Daniel at the end of the tournament. You just knew it was coming. Because don't forget, these films, so the Karate Kid films, were all directed by John Avildsen, of course, who directed the original Rocky film. So you knew it was going to be a pure underdog story through the whole thing, and you know that the main villain is going to fight Daniel at the end of the tournament. You just knew that, and it's very predictable where the movie was going to go. And of course, at the end, Daniel was going to win. It's going to be like eventually a tied score because you have 3 points that you win, and for the championship match. And of course, Daniel got the first 2 points. Johnny eventually tied it up, and of course, you knew that Johnny had to go for the knee, for the leg. Of course, you had after when Daniel gets the second point, and Johnny's nose got a little bloody. Goes to Kreese, and Kreese says, "Sweep the leg." You got a problem with that? He goes, "No, Sensei." And of course, I think it was at that point where Johnny realizes that Kreese was a nut. Kreese realized that Kreese was crazy at that point. And of course, that translates to the other two films, which we're going to get to when you do those films as individual videos. And then, of course, Johnny, of course, swept the leg and punched Daniel and gets a point that way. Got another point on another. He got another point, takes up the match. And of course, when it was still tied 2-2, because you had the famous moment when Johnny went, give an elbow to grab Daniel's leg and give him an elbow on his knee, and it goes, oh, and you can see Randy Heller, who played Daniel's mother in the film. He goes, oh, and you see a jump, and everyone went, ooh, they hit him in the knee. And of course, he got one for that, and of course, that's when they had the famous moment when he did a crane kick, when Daniel does the crane kick, and of course, kicks him in the face, and Johnny walked right into it, or ran into it, but he just did a kick and kicked him in the face, and he went down. And of course, a lot of people say, oh, that was an illegal move because it kicked him in the face. All the nitpickers out there have seen the movie like 100 times. And of course, that's how the movie ends, but Johnny actually does give Daniel the trophy in the end of the film. He says, good match, Russo. Right. And so thanks a lot. And he holds the trophy up. And of course, it always would have been fun if you see them for the rest of the senior year in high school, how they, if they ever became actual friends for the rest of the film. rest of the senior year in high school, which we really never saw that. But there was a film scene from the first movie, but they put it in the second one, which opened up the second film, which of course was a scene in the parking lot where Kreese was beating up Johnny because he lost. But I'm going to go into more details when we discuss the second movie. But the first movie always had a little more. It is a very simplistic story. It's very like typical underdog story. You know how pretty much nowadays is more such a cliche today, but not at that time. And it was really, really a good film. And also, bullying hasn't really been brought into the forefront that much in films before. At that time, it was usually like after-school specials would dealt with a storyline like that, but not a full-blown motion over 2 hour, 15-minute film. And this was the longest film in the whole Karate Kid series, because the other two films were like just under 2 hours. But this movie is very, very good. It is very sentimental film for a lot of people. I know it was for me. And when I got to see this movie was my science teacher showed us this movie. I was in high school. I was graduating from the 8th grade. It was in like the spring of '85, and the early days of VHS tapes, and the early days of VCRs, and we did very little work in some of my classes, especially when it gets to be May and June. We did very little work in most of my classes then, and so my science teacher decided to pop in, play us a movie for a couple of weeks, and I think it was in June by then, and it was The Karate Kid. And I liked the movie, and it's the first time I've ever seen it. And like I said, I never saw it in movie theaters, so I told my parents about it. Hey, this movie's really, really good, and I hope we get to see it on cable. And eventually came on HBO, and we all watched it together, and we all liked it, and said, oh, this movie is good. Hey, Joe, you picked up a good movie. And then when the second movie came out, I actually went to see that one. But that was the only one I went to see in the theaters for the second one. And we'll review that movie next. So that's my review of the first movie, the first Karate Kid film. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video on your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel at RowdyC.com. It's OWDY.C.com. There's a homepage to Rowdy Reviewer for Chris E. Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.